The early reign of King Aegon III Targaryen was a trying time for all those at court and his close family who were having to adjust to the huge changes that came in the wake of King Aegon coming of age and the end of the regency. There were some, even among the High Lords, who were still bereft after the Dance of the Dragons, who feared the reign of this damaged and broken king would inevitably lead to another succession crisis. The king had yet to have children of his own, and all the time he did not, the succession would be in question. These fears were exacerbated even further when the Queen herself finally reached childbearing age, and the marriage between King Aegon and his little Queen Daenerys could finally be consummated. Yet as the histories tell us, the king took a very long time in partaking in the consummation of his marriage, with some court gossipers questioning if the king had a taste for men rather than women. The reason Queen Daenerys was without doubt one of the most comely girls in the Seven Kingdoms. His younger brother, Prince Viserys, was already married with 2 children when his brother was finally convinced to do his duty to his people as king, to secure the succession and future of House Targaryen. While the king did eventually visit his queen's bed infrequently, in the end it had the desired effect, as the court rejoiced in 143 AC, 7 years after the end of the regency, when it was announced that Queen Daenerys was at last with child. Born later that year, the queen gave birth to Aegon's son. Feasts were held in the Red Keep the night of the boy's birth, and the small folk of King's Landing celebrated into the small hours of the morning in a festival of joy that lasted several days. When the boy's mother and father presented him to court, they announced he was to be named Daeron. Mace's notes from the weeks following the birth of Prince Daeron say that the babe was everything you'd want from a Targaryen princeling and heir. He was strong and fed lustily, and born with the traditional marks of House Targaryen, with shining silver hair and purple eyes of old Valyria. Soon after his birth, Daeron was named Prince of Dragonstone, and thus heir to the Iron Throne, and for the first time in a long while, the realm breathed a sigh of relief. The succession was secure with King Aegon III now having a son of his own, and in time Prince Daeron would prove to those at court, the High Lords of Westeros, and the small folk alike to be a worthy heir to the Iron Throne. This confidence in the heir subdued the lack of it in King Aegon III himself, and many felt Prince Daeron would make a fine king one day, as in many ways he was everything his father was not. 2 years after the birth of Prince Daeron, in the year 144 AC, King Aegon was given a second son by his queen. Much like the birth of Daeron, the birth of this second son, whom they called Baelor, was widely celebrated, as the king now had proverbial heir and a spare. Should anything ill befall Prince Daeron, the succession would still be secure in the hands of Prince Baelor. Much like his elder brother, Baelor possessed the traditional Targaryen look of silver hair and violet eyes. Baelor was said to be a quiet and peaceful babe, hardly ever shedding a tear, even when he was hungry. He would grow into a gentle and caring boy. A year after the birth of Baelor, in the year 145 AC, Queen Daenerys gave the king his first daughter, who they named Daena. It is said in court records that Queen Daenerys was besotted with her daughter. However, much like the woman she would grow up to be, even almost from birth, she was a willful girl, with comparisons being made with the willful daughters of King Jaehaerys. In many ways, Daena encapsulated what it meant to be a Targaryen. She was strong, beautiful, and possessed a fine intellect. Like her siblings, she possessed the silver gold hair of Valyria. However, this common Targaryen trait is also one which made her stand out against her siblings at the time, and most other Targaryens. Her hair was thick, with cascading curls, but to the resentment of her handmaids, was utterly unmanageable. Her thick locks framed her heart-shaped face and sparkling purple eyes. For many, even as a babe, she was the most desirable maid in the realm, given her powerful position. 2 years after the birth of Daena, the king was born a second daughter, which the king and queen named Rhaena. History does not tell us if the girl was named the king's half-sister, Rhaena. However, given no child was named Baelor after the king's other half-sister, suggests that this is not the case. Rhaena was just as lovely as her sister, but court records suggest that hers was a softer, sweeter, more feminine beauty than that of her elder sister. Rhaena's hair made her stand out against her sister. It was a more gold colour, almost blonde, rather than traditionally a silver. King Aegon and Queen Daenerys' final child was born in 150 AC, 3 years after the birth of Rhaena. The babe was once again a girl, whom they named Aelena. In her youth, it is said she did not carry the traditional beauty of her elder sisters. She would later be described as a skinny little thing, awkward and angular, with a shy persona. Her eyes were soft lilac, Her hair was perhaps her most defining quality, and very much made her stand out among her family, with no Targaryen born since Aegon's conquest having hair like Aelena, rather than being a traditional Valyrian colour, silver or gold, or the more common blonde of lesser lords. Her hair was platinum white, with a bright golden streak running down the middle. She wore it pulled back and braided, and was always being told it was her crowning beauty. During the early part of the reign of King Aegon III Targaryen, there were fears for the succession and the future of House Targaryen, and given what we know of the king, it was a reasonable fear to have, despite a rocky start to his reign. In the end, the king did his duty and provided the realm with a strong heir in Prince Daeron, a spare in Prince Baelor, and 3 beautiful princesses in Dana, Rhaena, and Aelena. After the Dance of the Dragons, House Targaryen was left decimated, with its surviving members being counted on a single hand. But with the king's 5 children, Prince Viserys' sons, Aemon and Aegon, and daughter Nerys, plus the extended family of the king's half-sisters, Princess Baela and Rhaena, and their own children, the House of the Dragon was recovering to its strongest position since the dance. However, while the survivors of the Civil War procreated, one thing would forever be changed by the dance: the power of House Targaryen itself. Their dragons were fading into the pages of history, and King Aegon and his successors would need to find a way to secure Targaryen power in Westeros without them for the first time.